stood at attention while Commander read his new orders. The words felt like a punishment, and that was exactly what they were. He had questioned a superior officer 3 weeks ago, told him his battle plan would get soldiers killed. He was right. The plan failed, but being right did not save him from the consequences. "You will serve as a temporary bodyguard for Princess of the Empire," Commander said. He did not look up from the document. "The assignment begins immediately. Transport leaves in 2 hours." "Sir," said, keeping his voice flat, "I am a combat soldier, not a babysitter for alien royalty." Commander finally looked at him. His eyes held no sympathy. "You were a combat soldier. Now you are whatever I say you are. Consider this a lesson in keeping your mouth shut." 2 hours later, boarded a shuttle heading for the royal cruiser called the Crown. He carried one bag with his few belongings and a rifle he suspected he would never use. Bodyguard duty was simple: stand in corners, look threatening, try not to fall asleep. The Empire controlled 7 star systems and had existed for thousands of years before humans even discovered fire. They were tall, silver-skinned, and had 4 arms instead of 2. Their eyes glowed in soft colors, and they moved with a grace that made humans look clumsy. They had joined the Galactic Coalition not because they needed allies, but because it was easier to manage humans from inside an alliance than outside of it. They considered humans primitive, useful like trained animals but primitive. Had dealt with before, he knew what to expect: cold stares, whispered insults, the constant feeling that he was somehow dirty just by existing in their presence. He had survived worse. He would survive this too. The Crown was massive. Its halls were made of some crystal-like material that reflected light in soft rainbow patterns. Everything was beautiful. Everything was cold. Attendants guided him to his quarters, a small room near the servants' area. They did not speak to him directly. They spoke to each other about him as if he could not understand their language. "The human is smaller than I expected," one said. "They all look the same to me," the other replied. "Soft, breakable." Said nothing. He unpacked his bag and waited for instructions. Princess was the 3rd daughter of Queen Dahlia. In culture, 3rd daughters held little importance. The 1st daughter would inherit the throne. The 2nd daughter served as backup. The 3rd daughter was simply extra. Learned this from the ship's database, which contained detailed files on the royal family. Was 230 years old, young by standards. She had violet eyes that glowed softly even in bright light. She spent most of her time in the ship's library. She had no friends among the court. She attended formal events only when required. She was, by all accounts, invisible. Met her for the first time the next morning. He had been summoned to her quarters to begin his duties. He expected arrogance. He expected cold dismissal. Instead, he found a tall silver woman sitting by a window, reading a book made of actual paper. She looked up when he entered, and her expression was not cold at all. It was curious. "You are the human bodyguard," she said. Her voice was softer than other he had heard. "Yes, Your Highness." She studied him for a moment. Her 4 hands held the book gently, like something precious. "You do not want to be here." It was not a question. Hesitated, then decided honesty was simpler than lies. "No, Your Highness, I do not." "Neither do I," she said. A small smile touched her lips. "Perhaps we have something in common." Did not know how to respond to that. He stood in silence while she returned to her book. The day passed slowly. He followed her to the library. He stood outside her door during meals. He escorted her to a diplomatic meeting where she sat in the corner and said nothing while others discussed politics. No one spoke to her. No one acknowledged her presence. She was furniture, decoration, nothing. That evening, a formal dinner was held for the coalition ambassadors. Queen Dahlia sat at the head of a long crystal table, her presence filling the room like cold water. She was beautiful in the way that statues were beautiful, perfect and utterly lifeless. Her eldest daughter, Lady, sat at her right hand. Her 2nd daughter sat at her left. sat at the far end of the table, almost hidden behind a decorative pillar. Stood against the wall with the other guards, watching. The Queen spoke about the peace negotiations, about trade agreements, about the future of the alliance. Her words were precise and calculated. Then an ambassador asked about the recent threats from the Collective, a group of extremists who opposed the coalition. "They are insects," Queen Dahlia said dismissively. "They make noise, they accomplish nothing." "Your Majesty," spoke suddenly, her voice cutting through the room, "they have assassinated 3 governors in the past month. Perhaps they deserve more consideration than insects." Silence fell over the table. Every head turned toward the Queen, watched her face carefully. For a moment something flickered in those cold eyes, anger, embarrassment. Then it was gone, replaced by smooth contempt. "My youngest daughter reads too many reports and understands too few realities," Queen Dahlia said. Her voice was light, almost amused, but the words cut like knives. "She will learn in time that silence is often wiser than speech." His face did not change, but noticed her lower hands, hidden beneath the table. They were clenched into fists. Silver blood seeped from her palms where her nails dug into her skin. She felt more than she showed, far more. The dinner continued, did not speak again. Afterward escorted her back to her quarters. They walked in silence through empty hallways. At her door she stopped. "You saw," she said quietly, "my hands." Hesitated. "Yes, Your Highness." She looked at him with those violet eyes. They were not cold at all, they were sad. Most people do not notice, or they choose not to see. "I notice things," said. "It is my job." "Your job is to protect my body," said, "not to see my pain." "Maybe I cannot help doing both." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded, just slightly, and disappeared into her room. Returned to his quarters. He lay on his bed and stared at the ceiling, thinking about violet eyes and silver blood. He had expected arrogance. He had found loneliness. He had expected a princess. He had found a prisoner. Sleep came slowly. When it finally arrived, it brought no rest. He woke to the sound of voices outside his door. 2 guards stood in the hallway, speaking in low tones. They did not know he was awake. They did not know he had learned their language years ago. They thought he was just a dumb human. "The princess's quarters are undersecured," one said. "Only 2 guards at night. No surveillance in the eastern corridor." "Those are the orders," the other replied, "from Lord himself." "It feels wrong." "It is not our place to question." Lay perfectly still, his heart beating faster. Undersecured quarters, orders from a noble, threats from assassins. He was a soldier. He understood patterns. He understood when something was wrong. Someone wanted Princess dead, and someone inside the palace was helping them. He rose from his bed and checked his rifle. It was still loaded. He placed it within arm's reach and did not sleep again that night. Whatever was coming, he would be ready. He had been sent here as punishment. But perhaps, without meaning to, he had been sent exactly where he needed to be. 3 days passed without incident. Watched and waited. He memorized patrol schedules. He noted which corridors had cameras and which did not. He counted the guards assigned to Princess and found the number insultingly small. A storage room had better security than the 3rd daughter of the Queen. He reported his concerns to Commander through the ship's communication system. The response came back within hours. "Your assignment is to observe, not to investigate. Stay in your lane, soldier." Deleted the message and continued watching. On the 4th night, alarms shattered the silence of the crown. Red emergency lights flooded the hallways. Was on his feet before his mind fully understood what was happening. He grabbed his rifle and ran. The ship's communication system crackled with panicked voices. Breach in Sector 7, multiple hostiles, assassins. The royal family was being evacuated to safe rooms. Guards were scrambling to respond. Did not head toward the safe rooms. He ran towards quarters. The eastern corridor was dark. The lights had been cut. The cameras were offline. Moved through shadows, his rifle ready, his breathing controlled. Years of combat had taught him how to stay calm when everything around him was chaos. Fear was useful. Panic was death. He heard sounds ahead, footsteps, voices speaking in the harsh clicking language of they were already inside. Reached the princess's quarters and found the door forced open. Two guards lay dead on the floor, their silver blood pooling beneath them. Inside, two assassins stood over Princess, who had backed against the far wall. She held a small blade in her upper right hand, but her face showed she knew it was useless. There were creatures tall and armored with natural shells. Their movements were fast and sharp. Their claws could cut through metal. They had killed entire squads of trained soldiers. They feared nothing. They had never fought a human who refused to die. Fired twice. The first shot took one assassin in the head. It dropped instantly. The second shot hit the other assassin's shoulder, spinning it around. It screamed, a high-pitched sound that hurt his ears, and charged at him. He had no time to fire again. The assassin was on him, claws slashing, blocked with his rifle. The weapon shattered. A claw caught his shoulder, punching through armor and flesh. Pain exploded through his body. He stumbled backward. The assassin pressed forward, sensing weakness. Its claws came again, tearing across chest. Blood sprayed. Red human blood, not silver like the assassin made a sound that might have been laughter, but did not fall. He grabbed the assassin's arm with both hands and twisted. The creature's shell was hard, but joints were joints. Something cracked. The assassin screamed again. Drove his combat knife into the gap between the creature's head and body. Once, twice, 3 times. He did not stop until the assassin collapsed at his feet. He stood in the doorway, bleeding from wounds that should have killed him. His vision was blurring at the edges. His legs felt weak, but he was still standing. More sounds from the corridor, more assassins coming. "Your Highness," he said, his voice rough, "get behind me, hide if you can." Had not moved from the wall. Her violet eyes were wide. Silver tears ran down her face. "You are dying," she whispered. "Not yet." Picked up a fallen guard's weapon. His hands were slick with blood. "Not until you are safe." 3 more assassins appeared in the corridor. They saw their dead companions. They saw the human standing in the doorway, barely able to stand, covered in blood. They clicked and hissed to each other. They thought he was already finished. Raised the weapon and smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Come on then." They came. He fired until the weapon was empty. 1 assassin fell. The other 2 reached him. Claws tore into his back. Plasma burned his side. He fell to his knees. But he did not fall completely. He would not fall. Not while she was behind him. Not while he still had breath in his body. He heard scream his name. Then he felt something strange. Warm hands on his wounds. Soft light surrounding him. He looked down and saw her kneeling beside him, pressing all 4 of her hands against his injuries. Silver blood flowed from cuts she had made in her own palms. "What are you doing?" he managed to ask. "Our blood has healing properties for your kind," she said. Her voice shook, but her hands were steady. "I read about it. I never thought I would need to use it." The assassins hesitated. They had not expected this. A princess willingly bleeding for a human. It confused them. It cost them precious seconds. Those seconds were enough. Palace guards flooded the corridor. Plasma fire lit up the darkness. The remaining assassins fell. Soldiers surrounded them, shouting orders, securing the area. Tried to stand, but his body finally refused. He collapsed against the wall. The last thing he saw was face above him. Her silver skin was stained with his red blood. Her violet eyes were filled with tears. She was shouting for medics, her royal composure completely shattered. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please stay with me." He wanted to tell her that he would try. He wanted to tell her that he had never met anyone worth dying for until now. But darkness took him before he could speak. When woke, he was floating in warm liquid. A medical pod surrounded him, its systems humming softly. Tubes ran into his arms. Monitors displayed readings he could not understand. He was alive. Somehow, impossibly, he was alive. A physician stood nearby, studying the monitors. She noticed his open eyes and approached. "You should be dead," she said. Her voice was clinical, detached. "Your injuries were catastrophic. 3 major organs were damaged. You lost enough blood to kill 2. She paused, her expression shifting to something like fascination. "But your cells kept fighting. Your body kept repairing itself. I have never seen anything like it." Said nothing. He had heard this before. Humans were not the strongest or the fastest but they were stubborn. Their bodies refused to quit even when logic said they should. "The princess helped," the physician continued. "Her blood accelerated your healing significantly. She gave more than was safe. I had to force her to stop." "Where is she?" asked. His voice was weak. "Outside. She has not left the medical bay in 3 days." The physician's voice carried a note of disbelief. "Neither has the queen." The queen closed his eyes. He had killed assassins in the royal cruiser. He had bled on palace floors. He had let a princess touch his wounds with her own blood. He did not know if he would be punished or rewarded. In that moment he found that he did not care. Princess was alive. That was enough. The door opened. He heard footsteps. Soft ones first, then heavier ones behind. He opened his eyes and saw standing at his bedside. She looked exhausted, beautiful and exhausted. Her hands were bandaged where she had cut herself to save him. Behind her stood Queen Dahlia, tall and cold and unreadable. "Soldier," the queen said, "do you know what you have done?" "I protected the princess," replied, "as I was ordered to do." "No," the queen moved closer. Her glowing eyes studied him like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "You nearly died for her. No one has ever done that before. Not for my 3rd daughter. Not for the one everyone considers worthless." Flinched at those words but said nothing. "In our culture," the queen continued, "a life debt is sacred. You gave your blood for royal blood. You are owed a debt that cannot be easily repaid." She paused. "What do you want, human?" Thought about it. He thought about his small quarters and his broken rifle and his punishment assignment. He thought about violet eyes and silver tears. "I want to return to my unit," he said. The queen's expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, perhaps, or respect. "No," she said simply. "You will remain here until the debt is settled. This is not a request." She turned and walked away, leaving standing alone at his bedside. The princess looked at him with an expression he could not read. Gratitude, guilt, something deeper that neither of them had words for. "I am sorry," she whispered. "You saved my life and now you are trapped here because of me." Looked at her bandaged hands. He remembered the feeling of her blood mixing with his. He remembered her voice begging him to stay. "There are worse prisons," he said quietly. She did not smile, but some of the sadness left her eyes. It was enough. For now it was enough. The royal palace on Prime was the most beautiful prison had ever seen. Crystal spires rose into a purple sky. Gardens bloomed with flowers that glowed softly in the darkness. 3 moons hung above the horizon, casting silver light over everything. It was a world of cold beauty, perfect and untouchable. Spent 2 weeks in the medical wing recovering from his wounds. Medicine was advanced beyond anything humans had created. The physicians regrew damaged tissue. They repaired organs that had been torn apart. They erased scars from his skin, though asked them to leave a few. Scars were reminders. He did not want to forget what he had survived. Princess visited him every day. She came in the mornings before her official duties began. She brought him food from the human trade ships that docked at the palace, real food that tasted like home, rice and soup and vegetables that he had not eaten in months. She sat beside his bed and asked him questions about Earth. "Tell me about rain," she said one morning. I have read about it, but I cannot imagine what it feels like. Thought about it. It feels like the sky is crying on you, but in a good way. Everything smells clean afterward. The air feels new. That sounds wonderful. Looked out the window at the clear purple sky. We do not have rain here. Everything is controlled, perfect, boring. Perfect can be boring, agreed. You are not boring, she said. You are strange and stubborn, and you nearly died for me. I do not understand you at all. There is not much to understand. I saw someone in danger. I acted. But why? Her violet eyes searched his face. I am nothing, the forgotten daughter, the one everyone ignores. Why would you bleed for me? Was quiet for a moment. He had asked himself the same question during his long hours of recovery. The answer was simpler than he expected. Because you were kind to me, he said. That first day you apologized for how the attendants treated me. No one else did. You saw me as a person, not an animal. That mattered. His eyes widened. Then they filled with tears. She looked away quickly, hiding her face. I am sorry, she whispered. I did not know such a small thing could mean so much. Small things are everything, said. Big things happen because of small things. You taught me that without even trying. After he was released from the medical wing, things changed quickly. Queen Dahlia summoned him to the throne room, a vast chamber of crystal and light. She sat on a throne carved from a single massive gemstone. Her attendants stood around her in perfect silence. The investigation into the attack has concluded, the Queen said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. The assassins were hired by the collective, as expected, but they had help from inside the palace. Stood at attention, saying nothing. He had suspected as much. Lord arranged for my daughter's security to be weakened, the Queen continued. He hoped the assassins would succeed where politics had failed. He has fled space before we could arrest him. Why would he want the princess dead? Asked. Because she threatens him. The Queen's cold eyes held something that might have been pride. My youngest daughter has been secretly advocating for human rights within the Empire. She has written papers. She has spoken to sympathetic nobles. She believes that humans deserve to be treated as equals. A pause. This makes her dangerous to those who profit from human labor. Looked at who stood at the edge of the throne room. She met his gaze and nodded slightly. It was true. She had been fighting for his people all along. She had made powerful enemies because she believed humans deserved better. He had nearly died for her, and she had been fighting for him without ever telling him. Lord is too powerful to touch directly, the Queen said. His family controls 3 trade routes. His allies in the court are numerous. My hands are tied by politics. She paused again. But you are not bound by our politics, human. You owe no loyalty to our nobles. You answer only to me. Understood. You want me to protect the princess from future attempts. Yes, you are hereby appointed as her permanent guardian. You will have quarters in the royal wing. You will receive armor modified for your frame. You will have authority that no human has ever held in our empire. And if I refuse? The Queen smiled. It was not a warm smile. Then I will discharge the life debt and send you back to your coalition with nothing. You will return to being a punished soldier. You will never see my daughter again. She leaned forward. I am giving you a choice, human. Choose wisely. Looked at again. She was watching him with an expression of pure hope. She did not want him to leave. She had never said it, but he could see it in her eyes. I accept, he said. The next weeks were difficult. Was given new quarters, larger than any room he had ever lived in. He was given armor made of crystal steel, lighter and stronger than anything humans could produce. He was given access to the royal wing, allowed to walk where servants were forbidden. But the court did not accept him. Nobles whispered when he passed. Attendants refused to serve him. Guards looked at him with barely hidden contempt. He was a human in a palace. He was wrong. He was other. Tried to shield him from the worst of it. She insisted that he eat meals with her instead of alone. She introduced him to the few nobles who did not openly despise humans. She spoke highly of him at every opportunity. But she could not protect him from everything. At a court gathering one evening, a noble named Lord approached directly. He was tall even for a, with 4 arms that he crossed in a gesture of contempt. "So this is the Queen's new pet," Lord said loudly. The room went quiet. Everyone was watching. "I have heard the stories. A human who thinks he is special because he can bleed." Said nothing. He kept his face blank. "Tell me, pet," Lord continued, "do you sleep at the foot of the princess's bed? Do you beg for scraps from her table?" Still said nothing. He had survived worse insults. Words were nothing compared to claws and plasma fire. But then Lord made a mistake. He turned to, who stood nearby with fury building in her violet eyes. "Your Highness," he said with mock politeness, "I must congratulate you on your new pet. He is well trained. He does not even bark." Moved so fast that barely saw it. She stepped forward and raised all 4 of her hands. Her voice rang through the chamber like a bell. "I invoke the right of challenge," she declared. "Lord has insulted my guardian and therefore insulted me. By ancient law, I demand satisfaction." The court gasped. Even Queen Dahlia's eyes widened slightly. The right of challenge was an ancient tradition, rarely used. It allowed any royal to demand single combat against someone who had offended their honor. Lord's confident expression flickered. "Your Highness, surely you cannot be serious." "I am perfectly serious." His voice was cold. "You have insulted a man who nearly died to save my life. You have called him an animal in front of the entire court. I will not allow this to stand." She looked at her eyes were fierce, determined, beautiful. "You bled for me," she said quietly. "Now let me fight for you." Opened his mouth to object. He wanted to tell her that it was too dangerous. He wanted to protect her, as he always did. But then he saw her face, really saw it. This was not a reckless princess. This was a warrior who had been hiding her strength all her life. This was someone who finally had something worth fighting for. He closed his mouth and nodded. Queen Dahlia rose from her throne. The entire court waited for her judgment. She could forbid the challenge. She could protect Lord. Instead, she smiled that cold, sharp smile. "The challenge is accepted," she said. "Combat will take place tomorrow at dawn. Let the ancestors witness." Lord's face went pale. His face showed nothing at all. But saw her hands. They were not shaking. They were perfectly still. And in that stillness he saw something that the court had never noticed. The forgotten princess was not weak. She had never been weak. She had simply been waiting for the right moment to show her true self. Tomorrow the court would learn what she really was, and nothing would ever be the same. The crystalline arena lay beneath the palace, carved from the living rock of Prime 10,000 years ago. Its walls glowed with embedded gemstones that had witnessed countless duels. Blood of 100 noble families had stained its floor. Today, it would witness something new. The entire court gathered on the raised platforms surrounding the arena. Queen Dahlia sat on a smaller throne, her face unreadable. Lady, the eldest daughter and heir to the throne, stood at her side, watching with curious eyes. Every noble, every attendant, every guard had come to see the forgotten princess fight. Stood in the front row, his hands gripping the railing. He had not slept. He had tried to talk out of this challenge a dozen times during the night. She had refused every time. "You do not understand," she had told him. "I have been invisible my entire life. My mother ignores me. My sisters tolerate me. The court treats me like furniture, but you saw me. You nearly died for me. If I do not fight for you now, what am I worth?" He had no answer to that. So he stood and watched and prayed to whatever gods might listen. Entered the arena from the eastern gate. She wore traditional jeweling armor, silver and white, fitted to her four-armed frame. Her hair was tied back. Her violet eyes glowed brightly in the dim light. She carried 2 blades, one for each of her upper hands. Lord entered from the western gate. He was larger than her, stronger. He had fought in actual battles. His armor was decorated with the symbols of his victories. He carried a single heavy sword in his upper right hand, a shield in his upper left. He looked confident. He looked like a winner. But noticed something that the others might have missed. Lord's eyes kept darting to the Queen's throne. He was nervous. He had expected to back down. He had expected the Queen to forbid the challenge. Neither had happened. Queen Dahlia raised her hand. The crowd fell silent. "This challenge has been called according to ancient law," she said. "Princess fights for the honor of her guardian. Lord fights for his own honor. Combat ends when one yields or cannot continue." She paused. "Begin." Lord charged immediately. He was not stupid. He knew that was smaller, younger, less experienced. His strategy was simple: overwhelm her quickly before she could use any skill. Did not retreat. She stepped sideways, letting his charge pass her by inches. Her blades flashed. 2 cuts appeared on his armor before he could turn around. The crowd gasped. Lord spun to face her, his expression now uncertain. Those cuts had been precise, surgical, the mark of someone who had trained seriously, not someone who had dabbled in combat as a hobby. "Where did you learn that?" he demanded. Smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I have been training since I was 30 years old, 200 years of practice while everyone ignored me. Did you think I spent all that time reading books?" She attacked. Her movements were fluid, almost dancing. Her 2 blades worked together perfectly, striking high and low, left and right. Lord blocked desperately, his shield taking blow after blow. Watched with growing amazement. He had seen many warriors in his life. He had fought beside humans and aliens alike, fought differently than any of them. She fought like water, flowing around defenses, finding every gap. Lord managed to push her back with a powerful swing. His sword caught her arm, drawing a thin line of silver blood. The crowd murmured, "First blood to him," but did not slow down. She pressed forward again, her attacks even faster than before. Her lower hands joined the fight, grabbing Lord's shield arm and pulling it aside. Her blades found his chest, his arms, his legs. Small cuts accumulated into bleeding wounds. Lord was panting now. His movements were slowing. He had expected a quick victory. Instead, he was being worn down piece by piece. "Yield," said. "Yield and this ends." "Never," Lord spat. "I will not be humiliated by the worthless princess." "Worthless?" Eyes flashed. "You have no idea what I am worth." She attacked with everything she had. Her blades moved so fast they became streaks of light. Lord's defenses crumbled. His sword flew from his hand. His shield fell. He stumbled backward and fell to his knees. Stood over him, one blade at his throat. The arena was completely silent. "I could kill you," she said quietly. "Ancient law permits it. You insulted my guardian, you called him an animal, you deserve to die." Lord's face was pale with fear. He had underestimated her. They had all underestimated her, and now he would pay the price. But pulled her blade back. She stepped away from him, lowering her weapons. "I will not kill you," she said, "not because you deserve mercy, but because killing you would prove nothing. You will live. You will remember this day. Every time you look at a human, you will remember that the worthless princess defeated you." She turned her back on him, facing the crowd. "That is a better punishment than death." The court erupted in whispers. Some were shocked. Some were impressed. Some were furious. Queen Dahlia's expression had not changed, but something glowed in her eyes that had not been there before. Pushed through the crowd and reached as she exited the arena. She was bleeding from the cut on her arm, but she was smiling. "That was insane," he said. "You could have been killed." "So could you when you stood in my doorway bleeding from a dozen wounds." She looked at him with those violet eyes. "You taught me something that night. Some things are worth dying for." "I did not mean for you to learn that lesson." "Too late." She reached out and touched his face with one of her silver hands. I have spent my whole life being invisible, being safe, being nothing. You made me want to be something more. Did not know what to say. He stood there, feeling her cool fingers against his skin, and realized that something had changed between them. Something that could not be unnamed. That evening, Queen Dahlia, summoned to her private chambers, was permitted to accompany her. The queen sat by a window, looking out at the 3 moons rising over the crystal spires. "You surprise me, daughter," she said without turning around. "I did not expect you to win." "Did you expect me to lose?" asked. "I expected you to be killed. I thought perhaps that was what you wanted." The queen finally turned to face them. Her cold eyes held something almost like warmth. "Instead, you showed me a warrior. Where did this come from?" "It was always there. You simply never looked." Silence stretched between them. Then the queen did something unexpected. She laughed. It was a small sound, barely more than a breath, but it was genuine. "You remind me of myself," she said. "Before the crown made me cold, before politics taught me to hide everything I felt." She looked at. "This human changed you." "He reminded me that I was worth something," replied. "That was enough." The queen nodded slowly. "The investigation has revealed more about Lord's network. He is gathering support among the outer colonies. He plans to challenge our family directly when he feels strong enough." "Then we should stop him now," said, "before he becomes too powerful." "I agree." The queen's eyes moved between them. "But I cannot send soldiers. Politics prevents it. However, a princess traveling with her guardian seeking to experience the galaxy, that would draw no attention." "Understood immediately. You want us to hunt him." "I want him found and dealt with. The method is your choice." Queen Dahlia stood and approached her daughter. "You have proven yourself today. Now prove yourself again. Find Lord, end this threat. Show the Empire what the forgotten princess has become." He looked back at her. No words were needed. They had already made their choice. "We will leave tomorrow," said. "Good." The queen reached out and touched her daughter's face, a gesture of affection that seemed to surprise both of them. "Be careful. You are more precious to me than I have shown." "I know," whispered. "I have always known." As they left the queen's chambers, Lady stepped from the shadows. The eldest daughter approached directly, her expression serious. "My mother has never trusted anyone with her children," she said quietly. "Whatever you did to earn that trust, do not betray it. You may be the only thing keeping my sister alive." "I would die before I let anything happen to her," replied. Lady studied him for a long moment, then she nodded. "Yes," she said, "I believe you would. Perhaps that is why she chose you." She walked away, leaving and alone in the corridor. The 3 moons shone through the crystal windows, casting silver light over everything. "Are you ready for this?" asked. Looked at her. The invisible princess who had become a warrior. The woman who had bled for him and fought for him and changed everything he thought he knew. "I have been ready since the day I met you," he said. Tomorrow they would begin their hunt. Tomorrow they would leave this perfect prison of crystal and light. Tomorrow everything would change. But tonight, standing in the moonlight with her, realized that everything had already changed, and he would not trade it for anything in the galaxy. 6 months changed everything, and had traveled across 12 star systems, following the trail of lord-like hunters tracking wounded prey. They had visited space stations filled with criminals and planets ruled by tyrants. They had fought pirates and escaped ambushes. They had slept in cargo holds and eaten food that barely deserved the name. They had become partners, equals, something more than guardian and princess, though neither of them had found the words to name it. The trail ended at Station Umbra, a massive structure floating at the edge of known space. It was a lawless place where credits bought silence and violence was the common language. The perfect hiding spot for someone who wanted to disappear. Lord had not come here to hide. He had come here to plan. Discovered this through careful observation and a few well-placed bribes. Lord was meeting with extremists, the same group that had sent assassins to kill. He was offering them something valuable, detailed information about the palace defenses, routes, schedules, weaknesses, everything they would need to assassinate the entire royal family. "He is planning to kill my mother and sisters," said Wen told her. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled slightly. "He wants to destroy my entire family." "And then claim the throne as the closest male relative," added. "With no direct heirs left, the law would support his claim. We have to stop him." "We will," checked his weapons. A rifle, 2 pistols, a knife. Not much against a group of and a desperate traitor, but he had fought worse odds before. "The meeting is tonight. We move in, we stop the exchange, we capture." Looked at him with those violet eyes that he had come to know so well. "And if capturing him is not possible?" Met her gaze. "Then we do what we have to do." Station Umbra's lower level smelled of oil and decay, moved through the shadows with at his side. She had learned stealth during their months together. She no longer moved like a princess. She moved like a predator. They found the meeting room in an abandoned warehouse near the station's outer hull. Through a dirty window, they could see Lord standing at a table, speaking to 3 representatives. Data chips lay spread across the surface between them. The exchange was already happening. "We cannot let those chips leave this room," whispered. Nodded. "I will create a distraction. You circle around and block the rear exit. When the shooting starts, stay low." "I am not hiding this time." "I know," he touched her arm briefly. "Just stay alive, please." She smiled at him. It was a small smile, but it held everything she felt. "You too." Kicked open the door and opened fire. The room exploded into chaos, screamed and grabbed for weapons. Lord dove behind the table, dropped 2 of them before they could react, his shots precise and deadly. The third managed to fire back, forcing him behind a support pillar. Lord ran for the rear exit. He found waiting for him, her blades drawn. "Going somewhere, cousin?" she asked. Lord's face twisted with hatred. "You should be dead. You and your human pet should have died months ago. And yet here we are." Advanced on him, her blades gleaming. "You betrayed my family. You hired assassins to kill me. You planned to murder my mother and sisters. Did you really think we would let you succeed?" Lord drew his own blade. He was larger than her, stronger, but had something he lacked. She had spent 6 months fighting beside a human who never gave up. She had learned that strength was not about size. It was about will. Their blades met with a sound like breaking glass. They fought in the narrow space, striking and blocking, neither giving ground. Behind them, finished the last and turned to help. But he was too slow. Lord's blade found a gap in its defense. It sliced across her side, drawing a spray of silver blood. She stumbled. He raised his weapon for a killing blow. Tackled him from behind. They crashed to the ground together, struggling for control of the blade. Lord was strong, stronger than any human, but had fought stronger opponents before. He had learned that desperation could overcome strength. The blade turned, pushed with everything he had. Lord's eyes went wide as his own weapon plunged into his chest. "This is not possible," he gasped. "You are just a human." "Humans do not know when to quit," said. "That is what makes us dangerous." Lord died with those words echoing in his ears. Crawled to his side. She was pressing her hands against her wound, silver blood seeping between her fingers. It was bad, not fatal but bad. "We need to get you to a medic," he said. "The data chips first." She pointed to the table. "Destroy them. We cannot let that information survive." He wanted to argue. He wanted to carry her to safety and forget about everything else. But she was right. The mission came first. He destroyed the chips. Then he gathered her in his arms and carried her through the station's chaotic corridors. People stared at the human carrying a bleeding princess. No one tried to stop them. Their ship was small but fast, laid in the medical bay and let the automated systems begin treatment. Then he sat beside her and held her hand while the machines worked. "We did it," she whispered. "Is dead. My family is safe." "You did it," corrected. "I just helped." "We are a team." She squeezed his hand weakly. "We have always been a team." The journey back to Prime took 3 weeks. Healed slowly, spending most of her time resting while piloted the ship. In the quiet hours between stars, they talked. They talked about everything they had seen and done together. They talked about the future. They talked about what would happen when they returned to the palace. "The debt will be settled," said one night. "My mother will consider it paid. You will be free to leave." Was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked the question that had been building inside him for months. "Do you want me to leave?" Turned to face him. Her violet eyes glowed in the dim light. "What I want has never mattered before. I was the forgotten princess. My wants were invisible. They matter to me." She reached out and touched his face, just as she had done in the arena so long ago. "I want you to stay. I have wanted that since the night you stood bleeding in my doorway and told me to hide. You are stubborn and strange, and you make me feel things I have never felt before." "Then I will stay," said simply. Just like that. Just like that. The debt was paid the first time you smiled at me. I stayed because I chose to. I will keep staying because I choose to. His eyes filled with silver tears, but this time they were not tears of sadness. The palace welcomed them home as heroes. Queen Dahlia held a formal ceremony in the Great Hall, surrounded by the entire court. She spoke of their mission. She spoke of Lord's treachery and his death. She spoke of her daughter's bravery. Then she turned to. "You have served my family beyond any expectation," she said. "You have bled for us, fought for us, nearly died for us. In recognition of this service, I offer you the highest honor that a non can receive." She paused. "Citizenship in the Empire, lands on the outer moon, a title of nobility, all of this is yours if you wish it." The court murmured in shock. No human had ever been offered such things. Stepped forward. "I accept the citizenship," he said, "but I do not need lands or titles. I only need permission to remain at the princess's side." Queen Dahlia smiled. It was not her cold political smile. It was something warmer. "I know. That is why I am granting them anyway. You have earned more than you will accept. That is what makes you worthy." The ceremony ended. The court dispersed. Night fell over Prime, and the 3 moons rose in their eternal dance across the purple sky. Found standing on a balcony overlooking the crystal gardens. She was watching the moons, her silver skin glowing softly in their light. "You could have asked for anything," she said as he approached. "Power, wealth, a ship of your own, my mother would have given you all of it. I already have everything I want." She turned to face him. They stood close together, closer than a princess and a guardian should, but they had moved beyond those labels long ago. "You have bled enough for me," she said softly. He took her hand. Her four-fingered grip was cool against his warm human skin. "Funny thing about humans, we heal, and we stay." She smiled at him. Then she leaned forward and rested her head against his chest. They stood there together as the moons crossed the sky, 2 people from different worlds who had found something worth fighting for. In the months that followed, rumors spread across the galaxy. A human stood at the right hand of a princess. He had bled for her. He had killed for her. He had chosen to stay when he could have left. Other species began to watch. They began to wonder. If one human could change an empire's heart, what might humanity become? The answer was still being written, but N would write it together, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one moment of stubborn, impossible love at a time. And that was enough. It had always been enough. Some stories end with battles and glory. This one ended with 2 people standing on a balcony, holding hands beneath alien moons. Some endings are quiet, but that does not make them any less powerful. This was their ending, and it was exactly what they deserved.